Hello everyone. In this session, we'll discuss all about IPMAT Rohtak examination, right? So let's quickly begin and talk about what all things are important, what are the important dates, how to register, when to register, what will be the composition of the examination. So we are going to discuss each and everything in today's examination, in this session. This is called all about IPMAT Rohtak. Now friends, first of all, the most important dates for IPMAT Rohtak 2025. Now since the notification is not out yet, the registration hasn't started. So all these dates will be tentative, and I have also mentioned the dates of the previous year, right? So if I talk about the application window will tentatively open in the month of February 2025. Last year, it started from 6th of February 2024. Last day to register, the registration dates, like the registration process will close tentatively in the month of April. This is what happened in the last year. The last date for registration was 10th of April 2024. Now the correction window, if you want to make any corrections in the registration that you have done, though you should not be making any errors in that. So if you want to make any correction, then the correction window again will open once the registration will close. But this correction window opens like it opens for a very short period of time. So you have to keep an eye in case you end up making any kind of error during your registration. Next is the last thing before the examination will happen is the admit cards. So admit cards will be out somewhere in the first week of May. This is what happened in the last year. And the examination date, which is not yet out, last year it was 18th of May. Let's see what will happen in this year. Okay. Now after this, announcement of the candidates shortlisted for the interview. So yes, for the next stage, for the interview, you will be shortlisted somewhere in the first week of June, wherein the interviews will be conducted in the month of June and the final results will be announced in the first week of July. The commencement of session for this year will begin from the first week of August. Friends, these are the important dates and you must keep an eye on all these dates. Moving ahead and talking about the registration fee, the application form, ये जो आपको fill करना पड़ेगा in the month of February or March, the fee for all the candidates was 4,500 in the last year. This year we are expecting this particular thing to remain same. Now moving on and talking about the eligibility criteria. Now eligibility criteria is divided in two parts. Now first of all, for general category, NC/OBC and EWS category students, so you need to score a minimum of 60% in 10th standard and 12th standard or equivalent examinations, right? So here the percentage required, the minimum percentage required is 60% if you belong to general category, NC/OBC or EWS category, right? Also, the age criteria is you should be maximum 20 years of age as on June 30th, 2025. So there is a cap on the marks that you will score or you would have scored in 10th standard and 12th standard, right? As well as there is a cap on the age as well. Now this criteria is relaxed a bit if you are from SC, ST or PWD category, right? So the relaxation is, as far as percentage in 10th and 12th is concerned, it is 55%, and as far as the age criteria is concerned, you should be 20 years of age as on June 2025. So this particular criteria is same as far as age is concerned, but you are given relaxation in terms of percentage score that you have scored in 10th and 12th, right? Now moving on to the next thing, the examination pattern. Now against IPMAT Indore examination, here you will also be tested on the parameter of logical reasoning. So the entire examination of IPMAT Rohtak is divided in three different sections, which will have sectional time limits as well, right? Now the first section is Quantitative Ability, which will have 40 questions. Second section, Logical Reasoning, again having 40 questions. and the third section is verbal ability, which will again have 40 questions. Now, for each of these sections, we have a sectional time limit of 40 minutes. That means you cannot spend more than 40 minutes on any of these sections, right? As far as the marking scheme is concerned, you will get +4 for every correct and -1 for every incorrect, right? You will get nothing, or nothing will be taken from your score if you leave any question unattempted. So unattempted questions, no negative marking is there, right? Now all these 120 questions which needs to be finished in 120 minutes, having a sectional time limit, again I'm focusing on that, we'll have sectional time limit. All these 120 questions will be of the form multiple choice questions, right? So you will be given options with every question. Now moving ahead and talking about each of these sections separately, about the syllabus of each of these sections, starting with quantitative ability, you will be tested on all these parameters. Now here I have not written it in any sequence. I have gone through the previous year papers, some of the previous year papers, right? And this is what I could find out, that students in this section will be tested on the basis of arithmetic. Arithmetic will include the questions from time, speed, distance, percentages, profit and loss, simple interest, compound interest, time and work, ratios and its applications, and averages, mixtures, allegations. You can see all the topics written on the screen. Then you will be tested on the basis of algebra, which will include linear equations, which will include quadratic equations, right? So all these things will also be there. Then you will also be tested on the basis of geometry, right? So geometry will also be a part, though the weightage of geometry is not very high as compared to the other areas of arithmetic and algebra, but yes, you will be asked the questions from geometry. Next thing that you have studied in 11th standard or 12th standard is permutation combination. So permutation combination, very basic type of questions will be tested, will be asked from here, right? Now other than the questions of mathematics, you will also be tested on data interpretation. Now data interpretation, that means you will be given some tables or bar graphs or pie charts, some mathematical data will be given to you, and the questions will be asked on the basis of that mathematical data, and these questions will include some calculations. So you need to brush up the calculations that you have learned in percentages and ratios especially. All right, so all these things will be tested in the section of quantitative ability. Now moving on to the section of logical reasoning. Now here logical reasoning generally is divided in two parts, quant based reasoning and verbal based reasoning, right? So you will see all these areas from quant based reasoning and some of these areas which we call critical reasoning, the questions which are based on statements, assumptions, arguments, right? So these are the questions which are based on verbal reasoning. Now from quant based reasoning, you may get questions which are independent, which are standalone questions, or the questions which may come in the form of set, right? Now generally from the areas like series, coding, decoding, blood relations, you will get independent questions. But when it comes to set based questions, you may get questions from these areas like games and tournaments, cubes and visual puzzles, word problems, circular arrangements, linear arrangements, like this. Okay, so in this section you may get standalone individual questions, or the questions will be in the form of a set, wherein in a set there may be 3 to 4 questions, right? Okay, now moving on to the next area, that is verbal ability. From every dimension, starting from reading comprehension, grammar, vocabulary, you will be asked questions from each of these areas, right? So reading comprehension you will be asked, then sentence corrections, para jumbles, para completions, grammar type questions, vocabulary, antonyms, synonyms, sentence correction, conjunction, tenses, deductive reasoning, inference based passages, modifiers and parallelism. All these areas which have been taught to you in the classes, all these things will be tested in IPMAT Rohtak exam, right? Okay. Now, talking about the next thing, the selection procedure. This is very important thing, right? Now, the entire selection procedure is divided in different stages. If I talk about stage 1, this is online registration. Obviously, to write this examination, you will have to register for this examination, and this registration is expected to start in the month of February, right? Now, the second stage is IPM aptitude test, which we called IPMAT, right? So IPMAT, this is again expected to be conducted somewhere in the middle of the month of May, right? So we have already discussed on these two things in detail in this session, and you have been preparing for IPMAT examination since so long. Now, talking about stage 3 and stage 4. Now, stage 3 is online personal interview. So last year the interviews happened online, so that's why it's called online personal interview. This is stage 3, which comes after IPMAT exam, right? Now, after stage 3, it will be stage 4, where they'll be announcing the selection list and offer acceptance. So announcement of selection list, the final merit list, and the offer acceptance by you, by the students. Okay, so let's discuss these two stages a little in detail. Okay, now how will you be selected for online personal interview? What are the parameters that will decide your final admission in IIM Rohtak? Okay, so let's discuss these two things. Now, if I talk about stage 3, which is online personal interview, so the shortlisted applicants will be called for personal interview on the basis of, this is important, on the basis of the minimum eligibility criteria that we have discussed at the beginning of this session. Okay, so eligibility criteria obviously satisfy karna padega, and the score that you will have in IPMAT exam. All right, fine. Now this was for 2024. This is picked up from the official website. Now same thing will happen for 2025 candidates. Okay, so you will be called for personal interview on the basis of the eligibility criteria, the minimum eligibility criteria, and your score in IPM 80 examination, right? Now the announcement of call for personal interview will be done in the first week of June, and this is tentative, right? So in the month of May, examination will happen, and this particular the announcement of calls for personal interview, you will be getting this particular thing in the first week of June. Done. Now the candidates during their personal interview will be judged on the basis of, these are important 3 parameters: your academics, whatever you have studied till 12th standard, your general awareness, right? And finally your communication skills, right? So the most important 2 parameters are these 2 parameters. Okay, communication skills, yes, they do play role, but if you does not have these 2 things and you have only communication skills, then nothing is going to happen to you. Okay, right? Finally, the interviews are proposed to be held in the second week of June. So in the first week of June, you will be getting an intimation for that, and then you will be given maximum 1 week for the preparation of this. So that's why you must start preparation for personal interviews in parallel with the preparation of IPMAT examination, right? So friends, this was stage 3, right? Now stage 4 is very simple. Stage 4 is the announcement of selection list and offer acceptance, and let's see on what basis this will be done. So the final merit list will be prepared based on the composite score, which will include your performance in IPMAT examination, definitely. Your past academics will also be considered, and then your performance in the personal interview, right? After considering all these things, a final merit list will be prepared and you will be offered the admission for this program. Now the next thing is the number of seats and the reservation. So the reservation is as per the rules of Government of India for SC, ST, NBC, EWS and PWD categories, right? So it is as per the reservation rules followed by the Government of India. Now if I talk about total number of seats, the total number of seats for this session is 165, which includes 10% of the seats offered to EWS candidates. Now talking about the fee structure for this entire program. Now for the first 3 years, the fee will be like, this is the data of the last year, right? So for the first 3 years, it will be 6,22,000 approximately for each of these years. So 6,22,000 for the first year, 6,22,000 for the second year, and 6,22,000 for the third year. Now the fee for the fourth and the fifth year will be as per the current fee at that time for the PGP programs that are running in IIM Indore, right? So this fee they have not declared yet. So जो भी उस time पे fees prevail कर रही होगी for the PGP postgraduate program, for the MBA program, that will be the fee that this candidate, the student has to pay for the fourth and the fifth year. All right. So friends, that is all from my side for this session. All the very best to all of you for your preparation of board examination as well as for the preparation of IPMAT examination. Best of luck.